I am about to turn 40.
40.
So it's that time has come where, whilst I'm still eligible, we are looking at LISAs. So we are doing a series of videos about LISAs, lifetime ISAs. What are they? Should you invest in one? How do you choose a provider? How do you even know what to do?
It's quite confusing.
What should you invest in? And a bonus video at the end of how to become a LISA millionaire.
So it's your birthday.
It's my birthday, and even if you are over 40 and too old to open a LISA, tell the young people in your lives about them so that they can do it, because someone is eligible to open one age 18 to 39. So tell the young people in your lives about this.
Yes, because it is an incredibly powerful tool. Before we get into it, a quick message from our lawyers. Number one, we are not financial advisors. We never pretend to be on the internet either. Number two, the tax rules change every year. We're recording this in early 2024. The government has a history of changing ISA, LISA and SIP rules. So just log on to the government website. It's actually quite good. Have a look at the latest rules, but this will give you the overview of everything.
And this is a UK specific video because LISAs, ISAs and all that fun stuff are UK stuff. So Ellen, what is a LISA, or is it even Lisa? Like, what is it? Is it this lady? Is she the one that's going to help us understand what this is about?
Or the lady from Friends that sung a song about cats? It's neither of those things. It stands for Lifetime Individual Savings Account. It's a type of ISA, and there are some rules around it, but that's basically what it is. It's like a savings investment thing, and it's tax-free, and it seems to us to be the only truly tax-free account in the country.
This is exciting. We'll come on to that. So you get a government top-up with a lifetime ISA, and then it's designed for first-time buyers saving for their first house deposit. And be careful, because there are rules around this as well that we won't go into on this video, because we're going to focus on retirement saving. So if you're using this to save for a house deposit, make sure you look up those rules, go to the government website.
So using it for retirement saving for the long term, you can have two types of LISA. You can have a cash LISA or a stocks and shares LISA. A cash ISA is literally where you put your cash in and then you get a percentage interest return. Stocks and shares is exactly what it says. You can hold stocks, shares, index funds, ETFs within your LISA. So those are the two types of LISA.
And in this series of videos, we're thinking about investing for the long term. So we're going to focus on stocks and shares, LISAs and ISAs, because that's what you need to invest in for the long term.
But before that, you need to make sure you are ready to invest. You should not be investing if you have any debt. Debt is not a good thing. So high interest rate debt, credit cards, loans, car loans, you shouldn't be investing before you get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, we're not necessarily talking about mortgages because, well, the interest rates are a little bit higher now, but generally it tends to be lower interest rates. We're talking about the higher interest rate debt.
Do you have a full emergency fund? 50-something% of the UK go into debt. When an emergency happens, you need to have an emergency fund before you invest.
Have you thought through what you're investing for? Is this for short term, medium term, long term? At Rebel Finance School, and we as the Donegans are all about investing for the very long term, and there is lots of volatility when you invest for the long term, but overall you have a very small risk of losing money if you are in it for the long term. Buy and hold.
And if you don't understand any of this, come on the Rebel Finance School. We break it all down. This year's version will begin in mid-May, and we run it once a year. And then a final thought, are you ready to invest? You could open the account with £1. So you've got it open before your 40th birthday, and then you can invest all the way up till 50. So even if you're not quite ready to invest, it might be worth opening it.
Exactly. And tell us about tax, Alan, and pineapples. Why are you holding a pineapple?
Well, the government always wants a slice of your pineapple, don't they? They always want their tax. So we thought we'd just show you the difference between an ISA and a LISA on tax. So we've got them here. Right at the top, you've got ISA. So you contribute with money you've already paid tax on. So when you get paid by your employer, the government takes its slice of the pineapple, it takes its cash. Then you contribute to the ISA. Then when you get it out at the other end, you don't pay any tax. whenever or whatever. So that's an ISA, but a LISA is different.
So yeah, it's kind of a type of an ISA, but it has different rules. So similar to an ISA, when you put money in, it's money that you've already paid income tax on. But the government is giving you a match, and they're going to give you 25% of whatever you put in. So if you put in £100, they'll say, well done, Katie, here's £25 to go with it. They're trying to encourage you to save for those two events, for retirement and for saving for your first home.
Which is basically giving you back the 20% tax rate you would have paid on your income tax. It's the same thing. So in a way, it's kind of like a SIP here, in that you get your lower rate tax bracket back.
A SIP is a self-invested personal pension, and you invest in pensions with money that you don't pay tax on that when you put it in. When you come to take it out, there's no tax, which is also very cool. So you are taxed at neither end.
Which is the opposite of a general account, when you get taxed at both ends. But this is why we said it's one of the only accounts that seems to be zero tax entirely. You don't pay tax on the way in or on the way out. But when can you get to it, Katie?
Well, there's a catch. You either have to be 60 or it has to be to use as a deposit for your first home. You must be a first-time buyer. And again, there's rules around this as well, which we won't go into here. Please look them up if this is what you're intending to use your LISA for. We're here talking about investing for the long term, so not getting it until you're age 60.
Exactly. So let's move on to the next section. One important point for you all to know: if you're a higher rate taxpayer, a SIP, a self-invested personal pension, will probably win for you, because you will be paying tax at 40% and you can claim back the entire amount with a SIP, but you'd only get the 20% level or the 25% matched on a lifetime ISA.
It's not binary. If you have used up your whole SIP allowance, by all means use the LISA allowance as well. We're just talking about the order in which you would use these tax efficient savings vehicles. That sounded very posh.
It did. So let's go through the rules. We'll do this one each, I think. So the first rule is a LISA is max £4,000 per tax year. That is the maximum contribution you can put into a LISA.
And that counts towards your overall £20,000 ISA allowance. So if you wanted to use your whole LISA allowance, you could put £4,000 in there. And if you were able to use the rest and the whole of your allowance, you would put 16 grand into your normal ISA. So just overall, you cannot exceed £20,000.
You can open an account between 18 and 39 years old. So if you're older than that, tell all the young people in your life.
You can invest in it up until 49. You must have opened it by the time you're 39, but then you can continue investing until you're 49.
When you turn 50, you cannot pay in anymore, but you can't even get it out then. You've got to wait another 10 years for that.
Yeah, you can't get it till you're 60 or when buying that first home. And actually, the government page on this is very well written, very clear, and it's got great information on it. So check that out, and we'll put that in the link as well.
Now, we always talk about the levels of thinking on Rebel Finance School, and with a lifetime ISA, it's no different. You need a platform at the top. Platform examples are like Vanguard, Interactive Investor, Hargreaves Lansdown, Doddle, Nutmeg, and we're going to do a separate video working out which one of these to use. So before you choose a platform, make sure you look at that, because there are those that are expensive like Nutmeg that will cost you a fortune, and there are those are a lot less, and we had to do a lot of research on this. So that's platform.
And the way I think about platform, it's where you go to log in. It's like the place that you go to have these accounts, and then there's different types of accounts that you can have when it comes to investing. ISAs and LISAs, a LISA being sort of a subset of what ISAs are, SIPs, self-invested personal pensions, and then general accounts.
Yes, and then within that account, you then have to choose what fund or investments you might have. So you might have a global index fund, some other type of index fund, you might have some actively managed funds, some bonds, who knows what it is. But on these levels of thinking, we're going to do videos on all of these sections, but kind of we're thinking about Hargreaves Lansdown with a LISA and a global index fund or an ETF. That's kind of where we're heading towards with this. And your job at these different levels. So this is your job. Number one on platform, it's to minimize fees. They all charge you to have an account. your job is to pay the least possible. The most least is what I was going to say, but that was confusing.
Don't spend more on fees than you need to.
Exactly, spend the least.
And then your job at the account level is to minimise taxes. And the government's given you these ways of doing that. So the ISAs, the LISAs, the pensions, your workplace pension and your self-invested personal pension if you're self-employed or if you want to put in additional above and beyond what your employer is contributing.
And the LISA seems a fantastic way to do that.
That seems good.
And then finally at the fund level, your job is to minimise fees, choose a global index fund and avoid all the weird stuff out there. That's basically your job at the different levels.
So this has been the first in a series of videos. This one's the overview saying what even is a LISA, how does it work, what are the rules. So look out for the next instalment. What are we going to cover in the next ones? So
the next one will be the pros and cons of an ISA. Then we're going to have a specific guide to opening one, which will be based on choosing a platform. Then we're going to talk about choosing investments, and the pros and cons of the different investments. And the series should guide you through everything you need to know to get your ISA and LISA up and running.
We're really excited to guide you through this and to teach you how we think about it, how we figure out which provider to go for, whether it's a good idea to invest in one at all. So we're really excited. We'll see you on the next video.